Right then, welcome to a new series of videos I'm planning to do called Project 55. Now, for those of you new around here, I've just started a 6-month sabbatical from work. I'm in week 1. I have a long-term goal or a 10-month goal to perform at the best of my ability in Kona in October 2024. Now, part of that goal is to be on the podium, to be in the top 10, to be at the front of the race. And in order to do that, I need to improve swim, bike and run. And in particular, I believe I need to improve my swim. Now, I'm going to go through my current swimming ability, a bit about my background, and then I'm going to go through my plan and what things I've got in motion and plan to do in the coming months to hopefully achieve Project 55, I'm calling it. I love a title. It's not Stop Sucking at Swimming or whatever Lionel called his a few years ago. It's got a lot more of a positive connotation. It's a target time, 55 minutes for the Ironman swim. So as we know, swimming is every triathlete's favourite discipline. It's the one we love doing the most. Now, some people have asked me the question, why am I focusing so much on my swim, either through things I've put out on social media or on Strava, particularly in the last month or so? For me, I need to be as close to the front of the race from the moment we get into T1. Then I don't have to blow myself to pieces on the bike. I can somewhat use the bike as the strength of mine, put myself in a great position, and then execute a run that I know I'm capable of doing. I'm currently on a 6-month career break. I have lots of goals and objectives, both triathlon related and in some cases personal related, on things I want to work on and develop over the next 6 months, and then hopefully in the second half of the year as well. But one of the big questions I've always had is, how good at swimming can a late bloomer be? And I would put myself in that category. My swimming background, where did it all start? Well, it may surprise some people that I wasn't a swimmer as a child. I did grow up in Cornwall. I spent hours in the sea, snorkeling, surfing, etc. But I never did any pool-based swimming outside of the basic sessions that if you went to primary school and you had a pool close by, you used to go to once a week for certain terms of the year. The closest I ever got to doing some sort of pool swimming was achieving my pool lifeguard badge while at college. Although if you've ever done this, the swim fitness required to be a lifeguard, particularly in a pool, is a few lengths at best. You normally have to wear your clothes and you also have to keep your head above the water at all times. So none of it is related to sort of technique-based swimming, etc. So in 2017, when I was 27 years old, I decided to give an Ironman a go with my best mate. I was going to give myself 12 weeks to train once the rugby season had finished, and I had no prior experience across all 3 disciplines. Ironically, swimming was the one I was least concerned about. In April 2017, I found myself at a pool while taking my then 3-month-old niece swimming for the first time. She was getting her swim nappy on, and I thought, why don't I just bosh out a few lengths, tick that box, and confirm to myself that I don't need to worry about the swim. However, after 25 meters, I actually couldn't swim. And at that point, 3.8K felt like a long way. Now, I'm not going to bore you with what I did to go from pretty much a non-swimmer to swimming my Ironman in 2017, but I'll run you through some of the key achievements and times that I've achieved and have gone on to achieve since. So in that first Ironman in 2017, I did swim a 109.24 down on the beach in Tenby in Wales. Now that's a pretty decent swim, particularly for your first one. And I put in a lot of work between that April and September with regards to swimming. I then went back to Tenby in 2018 and swam 58.20. So just over a 11-minute improvement, which was massive. And at that point, I thought, I can swim as fast as the pros at some point. You know, I've knocked 11 minutes off in a year. Yes, I'm not going to knock 11 minutes off the next year, but if I keep chipping away, I will definitely get faster. In 2019, I went to Kona for the first time and I swam 58.56. And this is probably my best swim performance still to date, as Kona's a non-wetsuit swim, it's a mass start, and 58.56 saw me in the competitive part of the field to some degree. You know, I wasn't miles off the front, and I certainly wasn't at the back. In total, I've now done 9 Ironmans, and the other 6 have all been between 57 and 63 minutes. So in some cases, I've got a bit slower, and in one case, I did swim quicker. This has made me ask the question, how do I get faster over 3.8K? I've done a lot of training since 2019, particularly when the pools were reopened from 2021 onwards, and I don't seem to have broke through that barrier that I've got around the 57-minute mark. So what is my plan? As I've said, I've got 6 months off work, which officially started on the 29th of January. Not wanting to waste any time, I've been starting to put in plans and actions in place to improve my swim for October 2024. The first is an increase in swim volume. This was encouraged by Coach Billy. So last year, to compare between June and September while I was preparing for Finland and Nice, I was swimming around 13 to 15k a week. I've now done 3 weeks in a row between 17 and 18k, and the plan is to ramp this up into the 20s throughout February and March. Although I'm not completely convinced swim volume is the secret, when I did swim some of my fastest times under an hour, I was only swimming 8, 9, 10k a week. The second is some one-to-one coaching and video analysis. So it's become apparent from taking short clips at the pool for this YouTube channel that my form and technique is not as good as I thought it was or looked like I thought it did. I've therefore booked in a few sessions with Stuart at SwimCube and my old coach Tim George, who does some one-to-one swim clinics. The video analysis, I believe, will be the key to unlocking some of my potential. I believe since 2019, I've improved my swim fitness a lot, and that has shown glimmers in either a 4:200 benchmark test or some of my fastest swim splits in both 70.3 and Ironman. I know I'm a fairly fit human. My bike and run ability shows this, and we know these sports are less dependent on your technical ability. So I know the fitness is there, I know the engine is there, but technique is where I'm going to see noticeable gains in speed, I believe. Now you may ask a question why I'm not using my coach. So I'm coached by Billy Harris. Essentially for the first 6 to 8 weeks of this career break, we are on opposing sides of the earth. Billy is currently in America. As I don't want to waste this time, I needed some input from some people that I trust or I've seen before while Billy is away. So both Stuart at SwimCube and Tim. From mid-March, I will be with Billy for 6 to 8 weeks in Mallorca and America, and he's gonna see me swim every day. We will then be able to continue the coaching and focus on my swimming from poolside. I think this gives me a unique opportunity to have multiple sort of inputs to how to improve, different theories, different things to think about, which is always good. And it also gives me a really good opportunity to get lots of footage of me in different environments that's swimming based, which not a lot of content creators on YouTube get to have. I do think some people don't want to put swim footage of them on the internet, partly because we don't look as good as we think we do and can open yourself up to, you know, some armchair critics, etc. I'm very much bring it on. Everyone give me their opinion. Whether I choose to listen to it or not is a different question. Number one thing I've done so far. On the 24th of January last week, I went to see Stuart at SwimCube. This is the second time I've been to see him. I went to him first back in 2022. And we have agreed to work on the following 6 things. In no particular order, and by no means will I be concentrating on all 6 at the same time. We're going to look at having a wider elbow when exiting the water, and this will help me finish my stroke, stop me flicking at the back, and set up, hopefully, a better elbow-led recovery. We're going to look at my hand alignment. So something I've never really focused on before, but always thought I was doing, is keeping my hands in line with my shoulder joint throughout the stroke. So not letting my hands drift off, particularly my right arm. When I breathe, I almost send it to try and stabilize myself way out right, putting an awful lot of pressure on my shoulders. So maintaining that hand alignment through my body position, so shoulders through to hips and out the back. Reaching / pausing at the start of my stroke, particularly my right arm. This is linked to the hand alignment where when I go to breathe, and I breathe predominantly to my left, not using my left arm to stabilize myself and keeping it long and strong out front. When I finish my breath, then start that stroke on that arm, rather than while I'm breathing, I'm almost taking that stroke already and I have nothing left out in front of me. I'm going to focus on when I do breathe, telling myself to catch and then breathe. This is to do with the timing of taking my breath. So I am guilty, and some of this may have come from swimming in open water a fair amount, where I'm looking up, I then turn my head and I'm taking my breath and I'm almost moving my left arm out of the way to enable me to have my breath. We know from the footage that when I'm not breathing, my left arm in particular is very good. It catches the water, perfect stroke is there. But as soon as I breathe, I move my arm out the way rather than catching the water. This one, I believe in the last week since seeing Stuart, but this is the thing I focused on the most. The penultimate one is the depth of my elbow when I'm catching. So I think the Effortless Swimming guy talks about this a lot, where people refer to a high elbow. Actually, while you're rotated and taking your stroke, your elbow actually needs to go deep. If you think about high elbow and you bring it too close to the surface of the water before you finished your stroke, you're minimizing the impact of that stroke. So keeping my elbow nice and deep underwater throughout my stroke to maintain the whole paddle. And the last one, this one is a combination of something Billy's picked up on as well as Stuart, is my breathing in general. And actually, I'm very, very guilty of holding my breath. And when I go to breathe, I breathe out and in the same time. I don't trickle breathe or breathe out in the water. And so working on this is quite key. Obviously, you want to empty your lungs of water. You want to empty your lungs of the oxygen. It means you breathe for less time when you tilt your head, which will help with my timing and my catch and breathe, and has a knock-on impact there. So that is a pretty long list. And one thing with swimming is you cannot focus on multiple things at once. Stuart has effectively given me one drill to focus on, and that is the single arm drill. The single arm drill, in effect, I can focus on each one of those things on a rep of doing a single arm drill. It's great for working on your timing, it's great for working on your breathing and how you catch the water, focus on my high elbow, etc. So I can do the single arm drill, say 10 times, and I can do the first two focusing on one thing, the second two focusing on another, and so forth. And we're also gonna do that sort of focus swimming when I'm doing, in particular, my aerobic swimming. So as an example, if you have 5 by 200 meters as your aerobic swim set, on rep 1, I'm gonna focus on my catch then breathe. On rep 2, I'm gonna focus on my hand alignment. On rep 3, I'm gonna focus on my wide elbow, and so forth. So knowing I've got 5 by 200, rather than stressing about the turnaround time or what pace to necessarily swim at, etc., before I push off the wall, I'm going to decide what it is I'm going to think about for that 200 meters. Then I'm going to pick something else to focus on the next 200, or repeat if I feel like I'm making progress on it or need to remain focused on it, if that makes sense. Then with the swim volume quite high, repeating that frequently over time, I should start to ingrain some of those good habits that I'm focusing on while swimming into the threshold and faster swimming, which ultimately is where it's closer to your race intensity and is obviously where you're maybe a bit more looking to chase a time or whatever in the pool. So what's next? The plan is to document this process as well as possible. As I say, I've got a unique opportunity where endless pool footage, I can get footage from Tim's swim clinics, I can get footage while I'm swimming in the pool I am at the moment, albeit on the sly. And once I'm out training in Spain, Mallorca, America, I'm going to be unlimited on how much footage I can get to share with you guys and show you, hopefully, the small improvements I'm making. Next week, on February the 1st, I'm going to go see Tim for one of his 30-minute swim clinics. He does these down in Clapham. You can book them on the Endurance Workshop website if you live in the area. But for 30 minutes, we spend one-to-one in a lane in Clapham Leisure Centre. He normally videos you anyway, but I will take both GoPros I've got and we'll go through some drills and show him what I look like swimming. Tim is by far the person who's seen me swim the most in my triathlon career. He used to see me swim once a week between sort of 2018 and 2019 at his group sessions, and I'm hoping to see what I look like in a pool environment compared to an endless pool setup. So the endless pool is great for looking at your technique and you can see yourself in the mirrors, but obviously the water's moving at you, it can disguise some bad habits, etc., and is not necessarily real world environment, if you like. Think of it like a wind tunnel for cycling, and then you need to test it in a more real environment. Stay tuned to see if as an adult I can break 55 minutes. Obviously some adults can, some people are gifted, they might have started swimming at 27 like me and they've already done it, but for me it's been a bit of a journey. I saw some very good progress early on, I've stagnated, and I'm keen to see if this is my ceiling. If it's my ceiling, fine, move on, it's not the end of the world, but I like to try and dedicate myself to something to see if I can make some progress and answer some of those questions that I've had for quite some time. If you want to see the next episode, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. And if you're really keen, you can hit the bell icon so you get a notification when it goes up. There isn't going to be a set frequency to these episodes. It'll be as and when I've got an update, some footage, etc. But there should be another one in a week or so's time once I've been to see Tim. See you later.